Alright, so what are stocks? Stocks are pieces of businesses. Let me demonstrate this with an example. Say I start a clothing company. Let's call it Soni Bros Apparel. I buy materials, a little bit of machinery, and other stuff we need to start out, and voila. Soni Bros Apparel is now selling t-shirts. So I'm selling these t-shirts in Toronto. The business is growing, and I say to myself, I want Soni Bros Apparel to expand. Not only do I want people in Toronto wearing my stuff, I also want people in nearby cities buying and wearing my stuff. I want to expand, and I want to expand fast. I need money. I'm not getting a loan to do this. Maybe I couldn't obtain one, or maybe I could obtain one, but I just don't want to borrow money and pay interest on it. So I decide that I will raise money through selling pieces of the business, which is exactly what stocks are. Let's have this circle represent my company, Soni Bros Apparel. I split this into 8 pieces, or in other words, 8 shares. I sell 7 of them to investors for $20,000 each, and I keep 1 for myself. So I own 1/8 of the company, and the rest of the company, the other 7/8, belongs to investors in return for a total of $140,000 that they paid. So these pieces of my company was Soni Bros Apparel stock. These investors are Soni Bros Apparel stockholders, or more commonly referred to as shareholders. Also, each piece of this company is referred to as a share. I own 1 share, and I just sold 7 shares for $140K. So anyways, I take this $140K and we hire people. We move manufacturing to India to maximize profits and do a bunch of other stuff to help the business. The business continues to grow, lots of people are buying and wearing our clothing, and basically, we're doing great. Now a buyer comes around. This buyer could be a competitor, an investor, whoever. But the buyer says that they want to buy Soni Bros Apparel. Let's give this buyer a name. Let's call him Neil. Neil says he wants to buy the entire company and offers to pay $800,000 for the entire company. Now, for someone to buy an entire company, they will have to buy all of the shares. Let's say all the shareholders, including myself, agree to sell the business to Neil for $800K. So all the shareholders sell their shares to Neil in exchange for $800K. So basically, Neil paid $100K for each share of Soni Bros Apparel. The company was sold for $800K and there were 8 shares, which means each share was sold for $100K. Now let's calculate the profits for these investors. Let's zoom in on one of the 7 investors. Let's call her Simone. Simone bought a share of Soni Bros Apparel for $20,000 and sold that same share for $100,000. She made a profit of $80K for buying Soni Bros Apparel stock and selling it once the business grew. To make things simple, I made this example deal with 8 shares, but in reality, companies have millions of shares, and companies trade on stock exchanges. For example, Ford Motor Company trades on the New York Stock Exchange, or the NYSE. Ford's shares don't cost $20,000 a piece. As of December 20th, 2013, they cost $15.42 a share. Stock prices change every day, and as businesses grow, their stock prices increase so that investors like you and me can make a profit.
To the club, sipping on juice, blowing that stank, got me feeling brand new. I step up in the club looking for some brand new, and everything I'm wearing in this bitch brand new. Shorty look good, she can bring her friends too. On everything I love, I ask her what she into, and when she say love, I start acting brand new.